Good evening, everybody. This is Boiler Room Radio, and you are live on UCY.TV. I don't know what the hell happened to Josh, and I apologize for the dead air, people. He must have had something serious come up or whatever where he couldn't make it to the mic, and obviously he couldn't let anybody know either. So, hope he's all right. Hope everything's going cool on his end, and we'll see him next week, right? But in the meantime, you're listening to Boiler Room Radio. I'm your host, Jim Funke, and the guy over there in that chair on the East Coast is Lance Musser. Come in, Lance Musser.
Hey, I'm waving, but you can't see me.
I felt you. I felt the breeze over here. So how's everything on your coast? Well, on
freezing.
The coast.
It's freezing.
Oh, no shit. Are you still cold, man? It was 75 degrees today. Beauties.
Oh, yeah. That gets here on Tuesday. Today was just in the 40s all day, wind blowing. Yikes. I mean, it was cold. It was cold.
And I bet you still tried to hit the links, didn't you?
Oh, no. It was Friday. So I worked. And then I had that cookout today for the children from Belize.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll
tell everybody
you
about that.
Well, my Kiwanis Club, which is like a Rotary, Lions, Mooses, a civic organization that does good.
A large collection of sleeple.
Exactly.
Right.
Because most of them are asleep. But that's why I said, some of the happiest people being asleep, that's them. That's who I'm talking about.
Right on.
But they sponsor this group of students down in Belize through one of the churches. And they came up here for a trip. They were in D.C. today. Now, you got to think about it. Belize is right in Central America near Honduras and everything like that.
Yep.
Dude, they froze. I mean, they froze today up in D.C.
They're walking around with blue lips and shaking there.
None of them had jackets before they got here because it just doesn't get cold down there. It's, in Central America.
Hey, man, run down to Wally World and fit them out, man.
Well, so they came down here because they're staying here for a day and going to Jamestown, where the settlers first landed. And I almost asked, I said, are they going to say, yeah, this is where we killed your relatives and took over the land? Because, Belize had
Stop.
But I didn't say that, But, they had a cookout, hamburgers, hot dogs, gave them American barbecue cookout meal. So I went over and said I'd help out and cook about 50 hamburgers and 50 hot dogs for 30 kids. And there was like a dozen left when I left.
Nice. So they only ate one.
They ate all of them but a dozen. There was 100 there, 30 kids. There was 100 pieces of food, and there was only about, so they were ravenous. Yeah, they were ravenous.
But that's enough for us for 6 months down in Belize. Oh, sorry.
Hey, you never know. I mean, I don't know how they eat down there, but they were eating like it was going out of style. All of them had 2 or 3 for sure.
It is. Go to the grocery store. Food's going out of style. Or at least it's going up in price anyway, like it's going out of style.
You're not going to believe this.
So
these kids, and I hate to dive on it, but this is funny.
Oh, go ahead.
Pathetically funny, sadly. So my wife was there with me, and she was talking to the students, and, she said, well, what do you want to do the most while you're here? They're going to Air and Space Museum and everything else. And they said, we want to go to a mall and Walmart.
Are you kidding me?
I am not kidding you. They've never seen a mall, and they've never been in a Walmart.
Yeah, but seriously, man, you don't want to go see, like an aquarium, some nature. No, I want to go buy something. I want to be a consumer.
They didn't even want to go buy. They wanted to go see it.
Oh, yeah.
Just see it. They can't imagine walking into a Walmart. They can't imagine it because they've never
that shit
seen anything like it.
Right. Anything you could want right at your fingertips.
Yeah, and they can't go.
But it's all made in China.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway, let's dive into the Smoke'em's Market Minute. I know the market was closed today, but I imagine you gathered up
only
something.
The bond market. The stock market wasn't. The bond market was closed. So
Reno didn't put nothing out.
Well, he still trades because he's some of the markets were open. I'll put it that way.
Right on.
Light trading, but the bond market was definitely closed. And I hope you're going to play his from yesterday because yesterday was awful. I mean, it was an awful, I sent you that email. Awful day in the bond market yesterday. Probably the biggest drop in
I will play
3 months. So play that
because I passed it to you.
Good news. Start out with good news. Bank of America.
They failed?
No, their brokerages are getting sued for the high frequency trading.
Oh yeah, I heard
they're
about
one
that.
of the people that's. I was like, yeah, but the New York Stock Exchange is also, being sued by the city of Rhode Island. So that people are fighting back over this, and thankfully we have a mainstream media story that really kicked it off. 60 Minutes really kicked that off. The dollar posted weekly gains because the Fed's talking about how great the economic data was and that they're going to remove some more of the stimulus. So actually the dollar raised on that worldwide today. Who would have figured? Good story to be looking out for.
More manipulation.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Good one to be looking out for in the future here. Shell, which is a Dutch company.
Oh, they're the ones that are destroying the Arctic. Yeah. Okay. I know what you're talking about.
Well, Shell plans Russian expansion with Putin's support. So they are putting in a new oil and gas project for liquefied natural gas.
Did you hear they just found a huge reserve in Russia?
No. Did it have anything?
Something like 600 million barrels or some ungodly amount. I don't know. Or 600 billion barrels or something. They just found a new one and some hundreds of millions of cubic feet of gas too, along with it. Somewhere in Russia.
Now,
I read
heard of that.
Yeah. I just kind of heard a blurb of it today. Maybe it might even be on the Hyper Report. We'll find out here in a little bit.
Well, they said today we are very keen, because that's a European word. That's a cool word, to grow our position in the Russian Federation, he said to Putin today. We look forward with anticipation and confidence on a very long-term future here in Russia. So Shell's commitment comes as European Union and the U.S. threaten Russia with increasing sanctions, including against its energy industry. And what happens? Make a deal with somebody else. We don't need your stuff.
I think Kerr-McGee is the only American company, oil-related company now. Everything else is foreign-owned.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Kerr-McGee. Or maybe it's Marathon. I think it's Marathon. I think Marathon's the only oil company left that's American-owned. And they used to all be American-owned.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I digress. Go ahead.
Oh, no, you're fine. Peter Schiff, he puts out a lot of videos talking about.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I know.
Yeah,
I was thinking okay, go ahead.
Yeah, SCHIFF.
Right.
He put a video out here yesterday or day before, actually. And I'm just going to read just a little quote of him because he's been spot on with a lot of this financial stuff. He's been talking about it for a while, dishing out some good stories. He said a year ago, I may have agreed about the crash, but as of late, I feel like now it should have happened if it was going to happen anytime soon. That said, I think 2020 might be the year.
Paul Craig Roberts said it's this year. Did you hear that?
I read that. We talked about that story on air Wednesday before Hyper Report and anybody else was actually talking about it. Because I saw the story an hour after it was posted.
Right. They're all listening to us. So be on your toes.
Yeah, exactly. And then lastly, before we just get into the couple vids, did you know, and you probably did, and this is from Blacklisted News, is it an alternative site? Yeah.
Yes.
The people,
Yeah, it's, the friend of the network runs that website.
This network?
Yep.
All right. So is it reputable? More so. I mean, like I said, everybody's going to post some disinformation.
Everybody gets caught too. I mean, hits the wire and everybody's like, oh shit, I'm running with that. And then all of a sudden 10 minutes later, it's like, oh, it's fake.
Exactly. So I mean,
go ahead.
They've got some quotes from the Heritage Foundation and they've done a lot of the research on this stuff. And they said that, did you know that the number of Americans getting benefits from the federal government each month exceeds the number of full-time workers in the private sector, not government workers, by more than 60 million. In other words, the number of people that are taking money out of the system is far greater than the number of people that are putting money into the system. And did you know that nearly 70% of all the money that the federal government spends goes towards entitlement and welfare programs? When it comes to transfer of wealth, nobody does it on a grander scale than the U.S. government. That's pretty scary. I mean, when you think about it.
Yes, it is.
And then there's, 18 facts down here that all of them kind of hammer home what we've been talking about every, week. It goes back to the 60s, 70s, and 80s compared to now. About, in the 70s, 1 out of every 50 Americans was on food stamps, and now it's 1 out of every 6.5. Crazy stats like that. There's more Americans on food stamps than the entire population of Spain. So
keep going with those. Keep going with a couple of those.
Let's see. According to one calculation, the number of Americans on food stamps is now greater than the combined population of Alaska, Arkansas, Connecticut, Delaware, District of Columbia, Hawaii, Idaho, Iowa, Kansas, Maine, Mississippi, Montana, Nevada, Nebraska, New Hampshire, New Mexico, North Dakota, Oklahoma, Oregon, Rhode Island, South Dakota, Utah, Vermont, West Virginia, Wyoming. That's a lot.
So the number of people in the United States on food stamps is greater than the population of all of those states combined.
And Spain.
Holy shit, dude.
Back in 65, 1 out of every 50 Americans was on Medicaid. Today, there's now more than 70 million on it. They didn't give the percentage or the 1 out of. Let's see. It is being projected that number of Americans
It'd be like 1 in 5.5.
Is that what it is?
Something like that. There's 300 million and 70 million. So, I mean, there's 316 million people in the country, and 70 million of them are on welfare or on Medicaid.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's about 1 in 5. A little less. Go ahead.
This one right here, and I'd have to research this because overall the Social Security system is facing a $134 trillion shortfall over the next 75 years. I have a hard time understanding that one because I think there should be a plethora of money in Social Security just based on the number of people that pay into it their entire freaking life and then die. Open up the obituaries and see how many people are dead every day in their 50s.
Right.
Those people paid 30 years into a system that they can't get $1 out of.
And they stole their money.
Think about that for a second.
That's why that's why as soon as you die, the first thing the government wants is a copy of your death certificate, and usually about 6 copies of it, so that they can send one to the, who's the what's-its, and the one to the, IRS, and one to the Social Security Administration, and one to the whoever. So that's that. I mean, as soon as your ass dies, that's what they want, so that they know.
Yeah. So they know, we got your money. The U.S. government has spent $3.7 trillion on welfare programs alone over the past 5 years. And today the federal government runs 80 different means-tested welfare programs. Right. And almost all those programs have experienced substantial growth in recent years. Mm. Crazy.
Imagine that, huh?
Crazy. Since Barack Obama's been in the White House, food stamp usage has gone from 32 million Americans to 47 million Americans. And I wonder how many of them were
That's an increase by 33%. Amazing, huh? Hope and change.
Freaking amazing.
I hope I find some change in the couch so I can get a goddamn pack of cigarettes tomorrow.
But see, and I mean, it's not hope and change. I mean, it's, it's
the new normal.
The other party, they would have got in, the same shit would have happened, different.
Right, man. Yeah. We try to tell that to everybody, right? Look, if Democrats hate high taxes and Republicans hate high taxes, why do we have high taxes?
Why do we have them? Yeah.
If Democrats hate welfare and Republicans hate welfare, why do we still have a welfare system? If Democrats hate not having jobs and Republicans hate not having jobs, why don't we have any goddamn jobs?
Thank you.
Because it's all a game. Anywho.
The last fact that I just think is astounding. If the number of Americans enrolled in Social Security disability programs were gathered into a single state, it'd be the 8th largest state in the entire country.
Jesus. Okie dokie.
And that ends.
In other words, we're a big country of handouts.
We are generous. We are generous, that's for sure, yeah.
To a fault.
Yes.
And what is it? Never underestimate the stupidity of Americans, because it is it is unquestionable.
Never underestimate the stupidity of people who gather in large groups either. So
Right. Okay, so here's Scott and his 2 minutes and 22 seconds.
Hello, this is Scott and this is a Hype Report. Today's report is sponsored by the free book Ramblings of a Madman. Here are the quotes for various items. First, phantom inventories. The cyber theft last year made Western smart money investors aware that their investments were not safe. This has led, despite paper selling, to a stampede of physical gold bullion. This has led to the COMEX gold inventories being drained and is now nearly 8 million ounces. But get this, GOD holders foolishly must believe that there is 25 million ounces. So, the COMEX may have already defaulted.
Did you hear
Next, electrical power prices. According to the data by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the U.S. national average for a kilowatt hour of electrical power hit a new March record of 13.5 cents. This is up 5.5% from the 12.8 cents per kilowatt hour in 2013. Next, breaking point. According to U.S. Census Bureau data, in 2012, about 86.4 million full-time private sector workers supported 147.8 million non-veteran benefit workers. Eventually, there will be too few private sector workers carrying too many benefit workers, and the U.S. will have reached a fiscal breaking point.
Isn't that what we just talked
political
about?
prosecution. Thanks to the Freedom of Information Act, it turns out that scumbag Lois Lerner, center scapegoat of the IRS targeting scandal, had contacted the Department of Injustice to apply heavy-handed prosecution tactics against groups opposed to Obama. Is it any wonder, with the apparent collusion between the IRS and the Department of Injustice, that this will never be resolved? Next, Obama to the rescue. Obama is writing to save bankrupt Detroit with 100 million federal taxpayer dollars to save Detroit pensioners. After all, Obama can't have a broke Detroit so close to midterm elections.
Wait a minute.
Next, education. Here are two recent examples of how education is changing. One, the SAT used for college entry is changing, and now essays will be optional, points are no longer deducted for wrong answers, and you get more time to take the test. Two, Yale University is offering a freshman-level course in the color blue. What's next? A degree in nannying? Wait, they offer that at Sullivan University. Next, the most free states. Using criteria such as regulatory, property rights, and tax burden, North and South Dakota and Tennessee are the top 3 free states. Rounding out the bottom 3 are New Jersey, California, and New York. My state of Texas ranked 14th on the list. Finally, please prepare now for the escalating economic and social unrest. Good day.
So, Broncos are going to bail out Detroit with $100 billion, but they've already filed bankruptcy. How's that work?
My guess is it's going into the retirement system. No, the retirement system for the railroad workers, city workers, and everything like that.
So it's going to bail out the pensioners.
That's what I think. I think that's where the majority of it will go. Their lobbyists are better for sure than the poor people's.
How in the hell is that my problem that Detroit went bankrupt? How in the hell is that anybody in the chat room's problem that Detroit went bankrupt? Why is Obama taking $100 billion of our tax dollars and giving it to a city?
But they got to help them. Amazing, isn't it?
Ask China. They're buying up the goddamn city. Ask them to loan them the money. Ask them for the $100 billion. Just turn over the keys. You people aren't doing shit up there anyway. The cops don't do shit. The fire department doesn't do shit. The people on the city council don't do shit. That's why the goddamn city's in the toilet. So why don't you just up it to China? They've already own about a third of the city anyway. Just give it all to them. Give them the keys and take your money and run. You sellouts.
Agreed.
Anyway, let's go over here and check out what Manarino had to say yesterday, because he took the day off today. He's He's probably cruising around in his new fixed BMW.
I would imagine after the day that the bond market, the way they took it in the shorts, he had something to say about it.
Did you see anything? Well, yeah, he was livid yesterday. It's 8 minutes long, so hold on to your seats, people.
Yeah, he probably stops after 5 or 6 anyway.
Yeah, we'll see. Did you watch anything on the overseas stuff? Did you check out any numbers on the Nikkei or anything? Because I know they were still open today.
I didn't.
Okay. I'm sure he'll be able to update us on Monday.
Now, the only article I saw overseas, and I hope we mention it, Stars and Stripes one.
Oh, yeah. Got all of our tanks coming back. We'll hit that in just...
Yeah, I hope so.
Hi, everybody. It's me, Greg Manarino.
Now remember, this is yesterday's.
Thursday, April 17th, 2014. All right, people. So what is going on? Let's not even talk about the stock market today. I want to start with this.
Bond market.
We had a major sell-off in the bond market today. The 10-year, I believe, lost over 3%, 3.3 something percent. This is huge. We also saw a lot of cash move out of commodities. Gold, I think, took a significant loss. So what does this mean?
It's a good time to buy.
We're going to talk about that in just a moment, but I want you to keep that in mind because I always tell you how important it is to watch the bond market because that's where all the action happens first. And if you're looking to make money in this market, this is where you need to be looking first. And I've gone over why many, many times. So let's just talk about this week here. Well, first of all, the market is closed tomorrow. It is Good Friday. So I will not be doing a market report tomorrow, people. I'll do this on business days, as you know, unless something major comes up and I'll jump on here and talk about it. But let's start here. So the major indices today about flat. The Dow Jones Industrial Average lost a fraction. The NASDAQ and the S&P did gain. At the end of last week, I had said this week was going to be an up week for this market. I have taken full advantage of that, and I hope you have as well. As a matter of fact, out of my last 8 trades, only one, which I closed this morning, was HPQ, but there still might be upside to this. This is just for myself, was unsuccessful. So that's an incredible record. Please, I urge all of you to check my record. It's posted right on the front page of my website, traderschoice.net. There's a link right down here. Why am I saying all this? Okay, so let's put this into a perspective. So last week, again, I said this market would rise. Absolutely did. We made a lot of cash here. There's more cash to be made here as well going into next week. And we're going to talk about this because of the movement of cash today out of bonds, huge, out of gold as well. Again, this cash is going to look for a place to go. And it's not going to stay in cash. Why is that? Well, let's talk about that too. It all plays in together, people. It's very interesting. So the Labor Department today came out reporting that jobless claims are at like a 6.5 or 7-year low. Again, we know this number is bogus. They don't talk about the real numbers, the labor force participation rate. They don't count people that are leaving the workforce. It's just propaganda. But, let them play their little game. That's absolutely fine. We heard from Janet Yellen yesterday, who said, despite what we're hearing from the mainstream media and from the politicians, that the job market is weak, and they will keep, suppressing interest rates artificially by buying bonds, despite what they're telling us about a taper. There is no taper. There cannot be a taper. It's impossible, because if there were a real taper with regard to bonds here, we would see yields rising. We haven't been seeing that except for today. We saw a pretty significant sell-off. But again, I think this is a setup here for another move higher next week in the market. So the Federal Reserve again yesterday said that they will continue to suppress interest rates. And what does that do? It's going to steal value from the dollar. So it's capital destruction, in letters across the sky. So what does that mean? Again, the cash that's leaving the bond market, cash that is leaving commodities is going to look for a place to go. It's not going to hang out in cash. In my opinion, is going to go into equities here, despite the fact that the market is rising like gangbusters this whole week. I think there's more upside here Today it was a little bit interesting. I think the market was taking a breather. There was a lot of profit taking, and I think people taking up new positions as well. So early in the week, we'll see. We may be flat on Monday. I don't know, but I still think as the week progresses, we will end next week higher than we are here at this point. So what does that mean for us? A few things, people. Number one is we need to be involved here in inequities on the long end. There's no doubt about that. I did close HPQ, which I only took up for a day yesterday. That was my one unsuccessful trade in the last 8. So that's pretty darn good. I did take up a new position today in Caterpillar.
I'm not going to listen to his positions and stuff and how well he did on the stock market, stealing money from other people.
No, he covered what we needed him to.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and slip out of that and get on to other things. Oh, so you just dropped me that link in chat.
Consider the source.
I know. But come on. We talked about the Korean thing, the whole ferry sinking, and the guy hit a rocky shoal. He took a different route from what he was supposed to because he was trying to shave time and blah, 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 blah. They didn't sink the freaking thing. North Korea didn't sink it. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it yet, but I am definitely open to the possibility that it could happen. Just because I wouldn't put anything past those guys. That guy's crazy. And he wants to start something. He's crazy. But no, I'm not saying it's true either. And I said consider the source. But be interesting if true. That would be a shit starter for sure. Yeah. Okay. Moving on. Because I'm not going to give it any credence.
Not yet. We'll see what investigative stuff comes out of it.
Right. A lot of kids lost their lives on that thing, man. I'm not gonna joke around about it.
Yep.
Okay, so I want to hit this real quick.
Is that your pet crow outside?
No, it's just one of the blackbirds that comes by here from time to time, and I miss him with my BB gun.
That's the first time we've ever heard of a blackbird on the air.
Yeah, so far. I'm waiting. Man, the sun's just going down too. I want Carl to say something.
He should.
Well, Carl. Anyway, we'll try. Hopefully he will. Sun's going down, and usually he lets out because he was going at it about 30 minutes before we went on air. So hopefully he'll let a couple out. But anyway, here I want to hit this real quick because John Kerry's got egg on his face, and I love it. I love it. A letter urging the Jews of Donetsk to get registered, which the U.S. Secretary of State cited in Geneva, is a fake, says a man whose signature appears on the communication. Following the four-side meeting on the Ukrainian crisis in Geneva Wednesday, John Kerry lashed out at a letter that was allegedly sent to Jewish citizens in Ukraine's eastern town of Donetsk, asking them to register and report all their property or be stripped of citizenship and face expulsion. In the year 2014, after all the miles traveled and all the journeys and through history, this is not just intolerable, it is grotesque, beyond unacceptable, Kerry stated. Images of the letter have been circulating online. I know everybody that's had any kind of touch on a social media site over the last 24 hours has seen this probably. I will drop this link in chat, though, if anybody hasn't. The letter is damn near laughable if you read it. The letter was stamped and signed by Dennis Pushlin, who was identified on it as the people's governor. However, Pushlin denied that he had anything to do with the letter, claiming it was a fake. There are similar letters not only addressed to Jews, but also to businessmen, foreign students, people of certain other occupations, he told RT. This is actually a fake and not a good one. Pushlin added that sensible people can only take what the authors of this letter were trying to say with humor. The self-proclaimed Donetsk People's Republic is a multinational, he said. We get along perfectly well with everyone, and there aren't any conflicts on national grounds, that's for sure. Let's see, I'm going to skip through this. It went ballistic on Reddit. That's actually where I saw it the first time, and then you passed it to me too. So
yep.
Yeah, we went through this whole thing. He added it was quite obvious that the protesters in Donetsk did not represent any danger to civilians and called for negotiations with activists. These talks could explain Kyiv's position and that the government is ready to make amendments to the constitution. I'm telling you, people, this whole Ukrainian thing is going to wind up ripping this country in half. It's going to wind up ripping Ukraine in half. Crimea has already left. They're a part of the Russian Federation now. So that's over and done with. And now the whole eastern half of this country is pissed off at Kyiv and the western half because they have a puppet government set in place by the CIA. And I think everybody in the eastern half knows it, yeah? Lance?
Oh, yeah.
That's the way it sounds to me, anyway. I mean, I might be reading stuff into it, but that's the way it sounds to me. They know that it's a puppet government. They know that they're going to be at the whim and will of the EU, and they're already, $15 trillion in debt? And they just signed the papers last week. So, that's not a very good return on your ink. But anyway, I wanted to throw that out there just because John Kerry got the thumb in the eye.
It's always nice to see him.
It is. Yes. Eat your
Of
tie.
course. Yeah, I mean, the only people that'll talk about it is Fox. Nobody else will talk about that story for sure.
Right. Well, RT.
Well, I mean, in America, something that somebody's going to watch on TV here is what I meant. Sorry.
Right.
Because I don't believe the majority of the people, venture outside of their TV for any news. Computer being used for posting cat memes and pictures of stuff like that. Looking at porn. So.
Yeah, okay.
Wish I would have had the internet as a teenager.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to drop this into chat for everybody so they can read it if they want to, and they can go see that later if they want to, and then we're going to jump off to something else. So, what have you got anything right on your plate right at the moment? And did you have any stories pulled?
Just that Stars and Stripes thing that I saw yesterday, and I think that's pretty interesting. It actually is. I can't believe it. I mean, I really can't believe it. I thought it was a satire story when I first saw it.
Because of where you got it from. And then I pulled up the Stars and Stripes story and said, hey, it's for real.
Oh, no. I clicked it. I mean, because it was hyperlinked in and it said based on our story from there. And I, clicked it. But then you dropped it to me later and I actually read it, but I did click it.
Yeah, because I was amazed. I said, holy it's real. They're really doing this. Okay.
Exactly.
So, here we go. Stuttgart, Germany. The U.S. Army's 69-year history of basing main battle tanks on German soil quietly ended last month when 22 Abrams tanks, the main feature of the armored combat units throughout the Cold War, were embarked for the U.S. Now, just to throw a little sidebar into this article before I finish it off, I want to remind you people that we left, over $600 million worth of shit over in Afghanistan already. I can't even think of how much we left in Iraq. It's probably billions of dollars worth of equipment in Iraq when we left there. But they're going to go ahead and ferry these 22 Abrams back over here from Germany at the cost of I don't know how much.
Well, it's not only those 22, it's every single one of them. I mean, there wasn't just 22 tanks there. I mean, when I was stationed at Bad Kissingen and I was in Armor Brigade, I was a cavalry scout. So we had M1A1s, 2 troops, or 2 platoons of tanks and 2 platoons of Bradleys. And, each one of them had 4, so 8 tanks. We had 16 tanks because there were 4 of them right there on our post. So I know there were more than 22, but those are the last 22.
Right. Yeah. They've been pulling them out over a period of time, I guess, and didn't tell anybody. But anyway.
They're closing down posts left and right, from what I've been hearing.
The departure of the M1 Abrams tanks coincides with the inactivation of 2 of the Army's Germany-based heavy brigades last year. The 170th Infantry out of Baumholder disbanded, and the 172nd Separate Infantry Brigade at Grafenwöhr.
Allow me. Okay. Grafenwöhr. And I spent many nights out sleeping in my tank.
They are in the process of doing the same.
Yep.
They are disbanding these units.
Bringing them home. I mean, they're not disbanding them. They're attaching them to American places here. It's just like when I was in the Black Horse Regiment stationed in Germany, we closed the Black Horse Regiment out of Germany. We pulled totally out, but they're out at Fort Irwin, California, as the, at the NTC, the National Trading Center out there, as the OP4.
Mm-hmm. On March 18th, the remaining tanks were loaded up at the 21st Theater Sustained Command Railhead in Kaiserslautern. Kaiserslautern.
Yeah.
Okay. Where they then made the journey to the shipping port in Bremerhaven?
Yeah, Bremerhaven.
Bremerhaven?
Yeah, I lived in Germany 5 years, so I know all this stuff. Sorry.
And they came to South Carolina.
Yep.
The tanks belonged to the 172nd along with a mix that were left over from the other units according to the 21st TSC. Tactical Strategic Command, I think is what that TSC stands for. It's an honor to be one of the soldiers escorting the last battle tanks out of Germany, blah, 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 blah. From World War II on through the Cold War, tanker units were a heavy presence in Germany. At its peak, Germany was home to 20 NATO armored divisions, or about 6,000 tanks.
Thank you very much.
There is no tank on German soil. It is a historic moment, said Lieutenant Colonel Wayne Morato. So we left Germany and paid to haul these tanks back. Why didn't he just sell them to Merkel?
No, you couldn't. They couldn't have the M1A1 technology. It's got secret technology on it. I mean, it's still top secret.
They can unplug that shit and take it with them. Leave them the gun.
Well,
for real, dude. I mean, how much do you think this is going to cost? I mean, unless they put it on a military transport.
Can I ask you this?
Sure, go ahead.
Would there ever be a need for them here, per se? In South Carolina or
that's going
Texas,
into the whole
Nevada,
before it's news story.
Or
they're bringing them back to kill Americans.
And no, I'm not saying that, but because of posse comitatus and everything else, they can't use them against us.
That's what they're up armoring the United States for the invasion.
I don't believe that because I don't believe the tanks and military will be involved in it. But with all of the escalations,
for foreign invasion.
I don't know.
When China comes over here.
With all the escalations in that side of the world, obviously this next war is not going to be fought with tanks because Germany was
he's going to be
close to get them over there. Yeah.
It'd be drone bombing. Not going to be, there's be boots on the ground because they're going to have to blow some DU, they'll be firing off big heavy rounds and get rid of some more of that nuclear waste and stuff. So we'll see what happens. Okay. What's next? What do we want to talk about next? Cause that's the end of that story. I mean, it was kind of a shocker that it was happening, but.
And did you see the date on the story? We're hearing about it 30 days after it actually happened.
Right.
So biggest news story that you never heard.
But they didn't reference anything that Obama said over the last, 60 days of, we're going to reduce troop levels, in the United States military back to around, 1970.
Well, I mean, kudos to alternative media because I think that's a newsworthy story that should have been, that's kind of history, actually. That's historic. It's not just an interesting story. That is freaking historic that we don't have any armor tanks in Germany in 60 years, 70 years now.
Yeah.
And if it hadn't been for alternative media, we still wouldn't have heard of it. Obviously, it was in Stars and Stripes, so all the military people know, but interesting.
Okay. Here's something else that I just want to touch on. And I don't know a whole lot about this, but evidently.
Never stopped you before.
F you. Evidently, it's a pretty big deal. There is a referendum from the states to Congress about the willy-nilly spending on Capitol Hill. Now, you can't call for a referendum unless a third of the states sign, the deal to call Congress to the floor and get this discussed. And it's never happened before in history. Until now. Never before in history. They've had referendums on the floor where Congress and the Senate, like 2/3 or whatever, or, the majority or whatever will call a referendum, but it's never happened from the states before in history. But they're doing it now. Michigan yesterday, or the day before yesterday, was the 34th state to sign the petition for the referendum to call Congress to the floor and find out what the hell is going on with the spending on Capitol Hill. They've got billions and billions of dollars to give to the Ukraine.
We have to from a 1991 treaty.
I don't give a shit, dude. I don't give a shit what any treaty says.
It's posturing.
Because their ultimate responsibility, their first responsibility as the government of this country is to the people of this country. That's their job. So while the roads are in disrepair and the schools suck and people don't have jobs and nothing's being done in this country about a goddamn thing going on in this country, they're just concerned about putting in puppet governments all over the world to enhance the American empire. And the people and the states.
Get them to believe it.
I understand that, dude. I mean, I know you always want to play the devil's advocate, but what I'm telling you, man, is this is a little historic moment that nobody is talking about. Because there will be a discussion on the Senate floor over this referendum. They have to, by law, address it now.
And it won't be on anywhere but C-SPAN.
The states are bitching enough to where they actually signed this thing and got the ball rolling, right? So if they don't get any answers that they're looking for, I don't imagine they're just going to drop the ball. I imagine they're going to keep going because they got pissed off enough to start it in the first place, right?
Can you define what you mean by the states? Is it the people or the congressmen or whatever?
It's the state legislature. Right, okay. Right, exactly. Because the people are on their phones calling them, ringing them off the hook saying, hey, what the F is going on with all the spending on Capitol Hill, but nothing's getting spent in this country. We're spending it everywhere else but this country.
It's nice to see that there's people waking up.
Yeah, it is nice to see it. And I agree with you that there's probably not going to be anything done. It's going to be a bunch of talking because that's what these people do the best is gather up in rooms and talk.
Oh, they'll have a story for everything.
And they never do anything. And they're going to blame it on the weather again, right?
Yeah, they'll have a chart. And, we had to buy more ice melt, this year. And we had to buy some hammers and toilet seats, They'll have a story made up. Nobody is accountable. Nobody's held accountable. They haven't. I mean, we've brought people up over budgets. Donald Rumsfeld was getting ready to get investigated on his budget and that $2 billion of missing money. And what happened the very next day? They never pay for anything, but it's nice to see people trying.
Yeah, it is.
I also thought I read that there was enough senators that had put together trying to put together a thing for, getting Obama out, getting him impeached. But they would need some Democrats to actually, come over to their side. But I thought the Republicans had a vast majority of people signed on to a bill for that now.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe not a bill.
You hear little blurbs about stuff like that, and then nothing ever comes of it. It just makes you wonder.
Nothing. Yeah, nothing.
Okay, I want to touch on this really quick. Actually, we should spend a lot more time on it than we're going to. And then I want to end the show on kind of a funny note because it is Friday. And I promise I'll see you guys all tomorrow night for After the Last Cup. I guarantee you Lance won't be here, though. He's lazy. Anyway, I want to touch on this really quick. This is kind of actually a big deal. The manager of the stricken Fukushima nuclear power plant has admitted not having full control of the facility, contrary to the statements of the Japanese Prime Minister. TEPCO's Akira Ono said attempts to plug the leaks of radioactive water have failed. It's embarrassing to admit, but there are certain parts of the site where we don't have full control, he said. Duh. Last year, the Japanese Prime Minister attempted to assure the world that the situation at the stricken nuclear power plant was under control. However,
can you drop that link in chat?
For the Fukushima one? Yeah.
Yeah, the one what you're reading right now.
Yeah. However, over the last couple of months, the cleanup procedures at the plant have been fraught with difficulties. Now listen, this guy, as he's talking to Reuters, continues to lie as he's spilling a smidgen of truth. Here, I'll drop it in there now. There's the link for everybody. Tokyo Electric, let's see. TEPCO, the plant's operator, has consistently faced contaminated water leaks at the Fukushima plant. Water has to be pumped over the facility's stricken reactors in order to keep them from overheating, blah, blah, we all know that. Creates large quantities of contaminated water, which has to be stored in tanks on the site. Ono acknowledged to the press that in TEPCO's rush to deal with the stricken facility following the earthquake, the company may have made mistakes. No shit. Thanks, Captain Obvious. It may sound odd, but this is the bill we have to pay. We have done it in the past. We have, for what we have done in the past 3 years, he said. But we were pressed to build tanks in a rush and may have not paid enough attention to quality. We need to improve quality from here. From here? From here? So after 3 years, you're going to say, yeah, maybe we should build some better tanks because these ones are getting ready to spill shit all over the planet, along with the 600 tons or whatever you're pumping into the ocean every day. Because he doesn't address that in this little talk he had. The plant's manager said that the number one aim was to keep the radioactive water from getting into the ocean. Lie. The ultimate purpose is to prevent contaminated water from going out to the ocean, and in this regard, I believe it is under control. But with a series of leaks, have obliged officials to find better ways to handle the water problem. In the latest blunder at the plant, TEPCO mistakenly flooded the Fukushima facility basements with radioactive cooling tank water. Earlier this week, the Japanese newspaper, the Asahi Shimbun, reported that around 200 tons of water had found its way into the waste disposal facilities under the power plant. Found its way. TEPCO said they were working to fix the leakage as soon as possible. Cleaning up Fukushima is becoming an increasing headache for the Japanese authorities. Experts predict that fully decommissioning the stricken plant is a process that could take decades, costing billions. I've heard 50 years to get this thing shut down.
I've heard never.
Yeah. So I just wanted to touch on that for a minute and let you go ahead and comment now.
Oh, it's okay. I mean, the Pacific Ocean's big. They call it dispersion. You probably haven't heard of that. But I heard a scientist talk about it, and he said that it's okay.
So you're negative Nancy on my stories and stuff that actually means a shit. Then you're just a burping ray of sunshine, huh?
Somebody on my Facebook posted that meme that said, "Has anybody forgot about this?" and showed the shit spewing off into the ocean. And I always post I don't care about Fukushima. My TV will tell me when to worry about it. Yeah. Meme in the comment section.
Right.
And a whole bunch of people liked it and commented on it. Everybody's aware. I mean, these people were all aware of it and they are concerned about it. And then I just dropped that story into the comment section so they'll get a chance to read what you just read to us.
Okay.
Cause it's out of control, man. It's shocking. I mean, it's a, world altering event that's just being swept under the rug because they know that there's no fixing it and it's just a matter of time.
Okay. There was a 7.5 in Mexico. I think everybody heard about that earlier.
Yep.
And along the whole radiation thing, I want to talk about this real quick. While the Goddamn ads, man. While the cause of the radiation leak at the United States' first nuclear waste repository remains unknown, officials have reportedly pinpointed the facility's contaminated area. So I guess they've actually got some brave souls that are venturing into this facility. That we're talking about the WIP now down in New Mexico, right? Mm-hmm. According to AP, the Department of Energy's Tammy Reynolds told residents in Carlsbad that no definitive conclusions can be made regarding the latest discovery, but that further investigation into the area should produce some information next week. The WIP plant has been shut down since February 14th, when increased radiation levels were detected inside and outside the plant. Happy Valentine's Day. On Wednesday, crews investigating the leak made their way into the WIP and inspected the facility's various panels, or the large underground salt beds where nuclear waste is stored. These panels are located about a half a mile below the Earth's surface. After 5 hours of inspection, they found that panel 7 was the source of the leak contamination. Despite the discovery, however, workers had to leave the plant due to radiation readings that spiked as they neared the panel in question. As reported by Reuters, the next phase of the investigation will be to explore 7 and see if workers can determine what exactly caused the leak. How about you just seal the shit and quit fucking around with it? Although the WIP has been shut down for about 2 months now, elevated radiation readings have been recorded at least twice at the plant's at the plant's surrounding area. Air monitors have picked up trace levels of radiation, but federal officials have emphasized that they are well below what Environmental Protection Agency considers a public health danger. Okay, we're going to drop that right there. So just know that they think they found something at WIP, and we're probably going to get some more radiation leakage as they go in there and screw around. Anyway, you want to comment on that?
I got it. I got a plan to get us rich.
Oh boy.
We're going to become reporters and start a news station that tells the real truth. And then they'll just buy us out to make us quiet, because that's got to be the only reason. But what if they decide to go the Breitbart route? Yeah, I guess so.
And you fall over in the middle of the sidewalk, choking on your tongue.
Could you imagine if CNN put a quarter of the effort they put into this missing plane into that story that you just read, or the story before that you just read, or the story before that you just read? God.
Or the stories at the beginning of the show that you read. I just, it doesn't make any difference.
The diversion, and people eat it up.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to switch gears here, and we're going to end this show on a kind of a jolly note, jovial note.
All right.
You sent me an email a couple days ago. A mix of interesting information is what you titled it.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was pretty cute, so yeah. I'm going to read it to everybody. Here's the culmination. Number 1, your shoes are the first thing that people subconsciously notice about you. Always wear nice shoes. Number 2, if you sit for more than 11 hours a day, there is a 50% chance you will die within the next 3 years. Take that one to heart. Number 3, there are at least 6 people in the world who look exactly like you. There's a 9% chance in your lifetime that you will meet one of them. I actually think I saw one of my twins back in the service. Number 4, sleeping without a pillow reduces back pain and keeps your spine stronger. Bet you didn't know that one. I know I didn't. I love my pillow, though. Number 5, a person's height is determined by their father, and their weight is determined by their mother. I don't know if that's true or not, but. Number 6, if a part of your body falls asleep, you can almost always wake it up by shaking your head. I did not know that one, and I will try it the next time.
I'm going to try it next time.
Yeah. Number 7, there are 3 things the human brain cannot resist noticing: food, attractive people, and danger. Number 8. Go ahead.
No, that's a good one. Danger.
Yeah. Yep. Number 8. Right-handed people tend to chew food on their right side of their mouth. Number 9. Putting dry tea bags in a gym bag or smelly shoes will absorb the unpleasant odor. I did not know that one either, and I will attempt to verify
I've heard that one. Yeah, I've heard that one before.
Have you? That's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Number 10. According to Albert Einstein, if honey bees were to disappear from the earth, humans would be dead within 4 years.
Yep. Nothing be pollinated.
We got robo-bees now from Monsanto.
Yep.
And DARPA.
They're killing them.
Number 11. There are so many kinds of apples that if you ate one new one every day, it would take you over 20 years to try them all. That's a lot of freaking apples. That's a lot of freaking apples.
That's cool.
Number 12. You can survive without eating for weeks, but you will only live 11 days if you do not sleep. 11 days. Number 13. People who laugh a lot are healthier than those who don't. We all knew that. We all knew that. Number 14. Laziness and inactivity kills just as many people as smoking. Number 15. A human brain has a capacity to store 5 times as much information as is found on Wikipedia.
That I believe.
Number 16. Our brain uses the same amount of power as a 10-watt light bulb. Number 17. Our body gives off enough heat in 30 minutes to boil 1.5 liters of water. Number 18. The ovum, or egg, is the largest cell on the planet, and the sperm is the smallest. Number 19. Stomach acid, or hydrochloric acid, is strong enough to dissolve razor blades. Shit, I ran out of time.
Peace and love.
Yeah, peace and love, everybody. We'll get back to the rest of them tomorrow, maybe, on After the Last Cup. UCY.TV. Turboville's replays next. Then Primer Time, Anti-Media Radio. See you, people.